projects to be able to do what they call Vision Zero, which is to reduce traffic fatalities in the city. But they also want to bring things, make things nicer, and they want to update the streets because we're expecting so many people to come to town for all of the World Cup matches here in Atlanta. And Elise, I know in just about a month we're going to find out which teams are going to be playing here in the group stage for the World Cup next summer. Elise?
Yeah, we should be all eyes on that. Big announcement for when that comes down. But good to see a lot of work is being done to prepare for next summer. So Tyler, thank you so much for the look at that. We certainly appreciate it. All right, let's get you to some big news out of Washington. Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, you may have been seeing this. Well, she's now speaking out, and the public rift between her and President Trump is really widening. So Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, known for standing 10 toes down on her opinions. We've heard a lot from her over the years, many of those opinions controversial. But she's now apologizing for criticizing the president and for his handling of the shutdown and the release of the Epstein files. So she told CNN that ever since their publicized showdown, she's even been receiving some death threats.
I am seriously concerned for my life, and I say if something ever happens to me, I really mean it. It's okay for me to say that. This is a time that we're living in where we're seeing political violence, and I'm totally against it completely in every which way.
All right, so meanwhile, the president showed no mercy when her name was brought up by reporters recently. So listen to what he had to say about that.
Her life is in danger? Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she says.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her.
Right. So how the conversation between these two has just shifted. It truly has. So the president also said that he would support her opponent if Greene's seat over District 14 were ever challenged. Marjorie Taylor Greene saying she apologizes for participating in, quote, toxic politics, and said that it was bad for the country. So some very interesting developments happening there between those two. Now, let's dive a little bit deeper here into these Epstein files and what the president is saying about it. He's saying he has nothing to hide. On Sunday, he said House Republicans should vote to release the files in the Jeffrey Epstein case. He posted this on social media. He said, quote, "We have nothing to hide, and it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetrated by radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party." But what he's saying there is different than what we've heard the president say earlier. In fact, he's fiercely denied any connection to illegal activities tied to Epstein, and even insisted Democrats were selectively releasing material to create a, quote, fake narrative to damage his reputation. So this comes as emails have been released suggesting that President Trump, quote, knew about the girls. House Speaker Mike Johnson is expected to schedule a vote sometime this week. So certainly following that, and we'll be sure to keep you posted on any developments that happen there. All right, another so-called stimulus check could be in the works. That's according to the Trump administration. So this is some really big news. There's a lot of eyes on this, right? I mean, we're talking about $2,000 here. So you've repeatedly heard the president propose these $2,000 checks for Americans, saying the money would come from tariff revenue. But in an interview with Fox News that happened on Sunday, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said, hold your horses. Everybody calm down. He says we'll need Congress to approve those payments first before any money moves anywhere. But he also said that if everything worked out, working families would likely see that chunk of change in the first quarter of the new year due to planned tax cuts on tips, overtime, and Social Security. So as soon as we hear those payments are a go, we'll be sure to let you know. So kind of getting two messages here. Will be interesting to see where it ends up falling, but could end up with $2,000 stimulus checks for working Americans. Now, if you collect Social Security, then this is something you need to be hearing about. That's because your check will be slightly bigger next year. So that's some good news. Starting in January, Social Security recipients will see that bump, and it's thanks to a 2.8% cost of living adjustment, just to make sure that you can keep up with inflation. So last year, beneficiaries saw a 2.5% bump. So we're taking it up a notch, it looks like, in January. So what are we talking about here as far as how much extra money you can expect to receive? Here's what we know about that. Back in August, the Social Security Administration said the average retired worker gets a check of just under $2,008 a month. So if we're talking about a 2.8% increase, then you're looking at about an extra $56 every month that you can expect to begin getting in January. So certainly some good news for many folks there. All right, our time is 11:10. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. 11:12 now, and some really good news as far as travel at airports. It looks like travel is back to normal at airports all across the country. That's because the Federal Aviation Administration has lifted those emergency flight restrictions that we've been seeing for the past several weeks. That's effective this morning. They're saying as air traffic staffing rebounds. So again, some really good news if you are headed to the airport or have any kind of a trip planned in the coming weeks, certainly. So those flight cuts started at 4%. This was back on November 7th. They were set to rise to 10% by November 14th. Now, a number of air traffic controllers missed work while they were going without pay during the shutdown, and the spike in understaffing at airport towers created some just general concern around safety. So passengers aren't the only ones relieved about things getting back to normal. In fact, the Airlines for America Trade Group released a statement saying, quote, "We look forward to welcoming 31 million passengers, a new record to our flights during the upcoming Thanksgiving travel period." So certainly some good news there. Looks like as far as right now what's happening out at the airport, taking a look at FlightAware and what they're saying, it looks like delays today at Hartsfield-Jackson are at 57. And as far as those cancellations go, today at 2. But if this is something you've been keeping an eye on, I mean, we were seeing some days those cancellations at 85 or even more than that. So certainly headed in the right direction here. So we're going to stay on top of those numbers for you, though. Great. Okay, our time is 11:14, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. All right, we're heading into the busiest travel period of the year, this Thanksgiving time period through the New Year's holiday. So that means airports are going to be packed, and we're seeing a lot of Americans taking to the skies. But more are actually going to be hitting the roads. In fact, according to AAA, looks like 73 million people are expected to drive. So joining us to talk a little bit about this, we have Maddie Bourgeray, a travel expert with RV Share, with just some tips if you're planning on hitting the road for the holidays. So Maddie, thank you so much for being with us. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to get to the roads, but first let's talk about the skies really quickly. So the good news here, we know that the government shutdown means, or the government opening back up means that things are now back to normal at airports around the country, which is certainly some good news. So what do you think? I mean, what should flyers expect over the next few days?
Yes, thankfully things are getting back to normal. I think we could expect some residual effects. So I would still just caution people to think smart, plan ahead, monitor those TSA lines, and just continually check your apps to make sure your flight is still scheduled and on time. This mostly will just mitigate any headaches or stress as you look to travel and head out and fly over the holiday season.
Yeah, so stay connected is what it sounds like. Stay connected to all of that very pertinent information if you're planning on hitting the skies. Okay, so let's talk about those of us that plan on hitting the roads. Is there maybe a certain time that we should head out to try to avoid traffic? Is it going to hit us no matter what? I mean, what are your tips for us as far as when we should head to our destinations?
So the key for driving over Thanksgiving weekend is heading out at those off-peak times, which would be either, early in the morning or late in the evening. The busiest times for travel year after year are Wednesdays after 5 p.m. and Sundays late afternoon or evening. So if you can offset your travel times, that'll help you stay out of traffic.
Very nice. Okay, so I think this is a pretty interesting takeaway from all of this too, and that's that more Americans are turning to RVs for their Thanksgiving trip. So give us a little bit of insight into what you're seeing.
Yes, according to the RV Industry Association, we're seeing a 33% increase at people driving either their RV or renting an RV from a website like RV Share, because people are just leaning into flexibility, control, and they really just want to be able to have less variables when it comes to traveling. They're looking for a less expensive option. There's no baggage fees, and paying for those high price flights. Gas prices are also down year over year, so that's playing into this trend.
Yeah, so I've never even been on an RV on the road, right? I've been on, inside of one that stopped at an RV show kind of thing, much less driven in RV. So is there something to keep in mind? Like, is there a learning curve here for those of us that have never done that and then just want to decide to maybe explore that for Thanksgiving? I mean, what's your take for beginners, should we say, when it comes to RV?
So if you head to our website, rvshare.com, you can shop a bunch of different RV types. We have anything from a Class B van rental that's like driving a large van up into a Class A drivable that's more like a bus. So if your comfort level is maybe less experienced, I would say leaning into something that fits you and your family. Maybe you're looking at a Class B, Class C RV. Most of those are either like driving a van or a U-Haul. And yes, it does take a little bit more time. You can't go at higher speeds, but it is a comfortable way to travel. And a lot of people could enjoy, doing this type of trip for a holiday. And also a bonus is you could bring your pet along.
That's a good point. And I'm sure that's a big draw for so many people, who want to travel with their pets, that you can do so comfortably or much more comfortably in an RV. Okay, so I'm going to guess that, being a travel expert and being with RV Share, you have to be an RV girly or at least, have some experience with an RV. So do you have a favorite model, or is there something you have your eye on, or what's going on with that, Maddie?
Yes, I personally rent RVs all the time. I've done more than 25 RV rentals. I love to try out different models, and my favorite is definitely a drivable where, you can have everything in the back from your kitchen to your bed to a couch and just pack everything in and drive with everything with you. So those are a great option when heading out on the road, and I'd recommend trying it. You never know. You could become an RV girl yourself.
I love that. Okay, so how could we end up using this RV maybe to create extra space and try to reduce stress when it comes to holiday gatherings? I think we can probably all use a little bit of help with that.
Yeah, a unique offering that we have at RV Share is that you can get the RV delivered to your destination. And if you are worried about driving, more than 60% of people that rent on our platform feel the same. And although that might be not their reason, it could just be overall convenience, they do get the RV delivered and dropped off at their destination. A recommendation we have for holidays is to actually have the RV delivered to your driveway, to your folks' driveway, to a family member's, so that you can have extra space this holiday season and use that RV kind of as, you know, another home right there in your own park or in your own driveway.
Yeah, it certainly makes it easy, right, when you can get it delivered straight to you. So that's certainly good to hear. Okay, what about essentials? You know, if you've never maybe packed for a trip with an RV, or even just if you're taking a road trip, do you have any packing tips for us to help make the process a little bit easier?
Yeah, I would recommend, you know, connecting with the RV owner who is renting you the RV to know what is provided. I usually like to ask what kind of kitchen appliances are already there and what else I might need that they don't offer. A lot of times, you know, we take a small toolkit with us and other essentials, you know, that might come in handy, whether that is, you know, RV toilet paper that does take specific toilet paper, and, you know, of course, there's always great online resources. We watch a lot of YouTube videos and, of course, use all of our driving apps that make navigating the roads a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit more about RV Share, if it's not something that we've checked out before, Maddie.
Yeah, so RV Share has more than 100,000 RVs to rent all across the U.S. We rent anything from a Class B camper van to a large luxurious travel trailer. And like I said, you can have that RV delivered to your destination. The majority of people who use us are looking to go on a family camping trip, whether that's at national parks, a state park, or a private campground, you know, nearby. It's a really fun experience and a way to try out RV travel, especially if you're a first timer.
Very nice. Okay, before I let you get out of here, do you have any final tips for us travelers to maybe make things easier and a little less stressful as we prepare to head out, Maddie?
Yeah, I would say holiday season travel is always busy. This year is going to be interesting coming off the government shutdown, but I think everybody just could practice some patience and flexibility. And I always recommend having a plan B, whether that's driving or flying, always thinking through what you will do if you do come across delays or cancellations. And that'll just take a lot of stress off the holiday season.
Very nice. Some great helpful tips for us. And maybe if someone's been thinking about an RV, then this is your little gentle nudge to look into it a little bit further. But Maddie Bourgeray, travel expert with RV Share, thank you so much for the tips today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Sure, of course. Our time is 11:24. Okay, so we're talking about, you know, RVs and road travel and that kind of thing. But if maybe flying is more your speed and you're trying to avoid flying with 100 other of your best friends, then flying private is something that you might want to consider. And you may be surprised at how it's not necessarily as out of reach as you may be thinking. So joining us now, we have our Billy Heath, who I got to tell you, Billy, you're looking really nice in front of that private jet. So you got to tell us all about this. Good morning.
Hey, well, thank you, Elise. And you said, yeah, it might not be as out of reach as you think. Well, for me right now, it's pretty in reach, I think.
It is.
I could reach right over to it. Look at this beautiful Challenger 300 that Wheels Up has been kind enough to bring out for us and show off. We're right here in Metro Atlanta. We're at their global headquarters. And George Mattson, the CEO of Wheels Up, has been so kind to give us some of his time this morning. Come on in, George. Let's talk about Wheels Up and what you have going on. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, man.
And thank you for bringing out this beautiful aircraft.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Absolutely. So for our viewers who don't know, just tell us about Wheels Up and some of the exciting things that you have going on.
Sure. So Wheels Up is one of the largest private aviation companies in the world, operating here in the U.S. with our owned operated fleet of aircraft and offering membership programs to our members who fly here in the eastern seaboard and the west and around the country. We also have one of the largest charter businesses in the world, and so for those customers who are flying on aircraft we may not have in our fleet or somewhere else in the world which we don't operate our own aircraft in, we can provide all those solutions as well. And of course, a couple of years ago, we formed a very important strategic partnership with Delta, extending private aviation and commercial aviation into one seamless integrated offering, something that's never been done in this industry before.
Well, that's exciting, and that's a name that a lot of Atlantans know is Delta. Strong Atlanta company, and you all have that partnership with Delta. So I think one of the things that I've heard you talk about is for many years, probably for the greater part of the private aviation industry, private aviation has been over here, commercial flight has been over here. Through this partnership with Delta, you're really bringing those two together, and that might make it accessible for people who may be sitting in Delta first class. Wheels Up may be a great option for them. Tell me about that and how that partnership is going to look like, maybe in an app notification or email, that sort of thing.
Sure. Well, look, it's a great point. Private aviation and commercial aviation have existed completely separately since the beginning of time. But for those customers who do fly private, who have the ability to fly privately, they also fly commercially. 90+% of all people who fly private also fly commercial, yet these things have never been offered together into an integrated, seamless offering. There's lots and lots of Delta customers, whether it's the 45,000 Delta corporate customers or the SkyMiles individual members who fly private today, who we want to have gain access to this mode of travel through their partnership and existing relationship with Delta. And so that's a really important part of the investment that was made 2 years ago. My decision to step off the board of Delta after 11 years on the board of Delta to help run Wheels Up, and it's something we're very excited about that we think is very unique in an industry that's been kind of short on innovation. The vast majority of private aircraft today are still wholly owned, which is very inefficient, or they're fractionally owned, which is basically a timeshare model. And what we're trying to offer, very distinct from that, is a seamless toolkit of really aviation solutions to allow customers to select, not for every trip, but trip by trip, segment by segment even, what's the best way to get there. And it's going to vary.
So you mentioned it, a toolbox. You have different options. I think recently a lot of our viewers are going to be familiar with some of the FAA restrictions that grounded a lot of flights. I believe some at Hartsfield-Jackson ended up being impacted by that. But you guys were still up and running. Talk about tool in a toolbox. This was the right tool for a situation maybe like that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Look, we saw a significant spike in bookings over the last couple of weeks as customers looked to solve some of the challenges that commercial aviation was facing because of the government shutdown and the FAA restrictions with a private offering. And so we saw a significant increase. And that's been true in every sort of challenge or crisis that the commercial aviation has faced. If you go back to the pandemic, right? During the pandemic, private aviation grew tremendously and really normalized after that, but normalized to a new baseline of normal from pre-pandemic 2019. And adoption of private aviation has really been on the increase. The industry's, seeing some very significant growth and tailwinds, which we expect to continue, particularly as you think about, the focus on experiences over products, interest in luxury and premium, which is obviously the core of Delta's strategy, and obviously what we help deliver an extension of for Delta as you think about where the Delta offering ends and where ours begins.
Sure. One thing that I like that you said, I heard recently, was that, the Wheels Up headquarters, from what I understand, was in New York, and you moved that down here to Atlanta because you wanted feet on the ground. You wanted to see what was happening on the ground here in Atlanta and how Wheels Up could take that next step in connecting, with a wider audience. Of course, your Delta partnership is going to help you do that, but one more thing that might help you do that is you've recently revitalized your fleet of aircraft.
Yeah.
And you've brought one of those aircraft out for us. This is the Challenger 300. Obviously, that's going to help you keep your planes in the air longer and keep those flights going. What do you want to share about your recently revamped fleet?
Yeah. So first of all, to your first point, day one, we made a couple of really important decisions. We moved the headquarters of the company from New York to the operations center just down the road here in Chamblee, into a newly opened operations center, by the way, a replica, basically, a carbon copy of the Delta Ops Center, run by the same gentleman who ran the ops at Delta for many years. And so we've got some great Delta talent in our operation. One of the very first decisions we made after the investment and announced was a decision to completely modernize our fleet and to replace all of our existing jet aircraft with 2 aircraft types. This Challenger series aircraft that you see behind you and the Phenom 300 aircraft. And those aircraft were selected for obviously good reason. Best-in-class aircraft in their categories, really high levels of customer satisfaction, and also efficient and strong operational reliability.
Sure. Well, again, I appreciate you bringing this aircraft out here. Let's go ahead and take a look if you don't mind.
Come on,
I'm going to grab my camera. You make your way toward the aircraft. Let's get on there and let's check that thing out. Just give me 1 second here, Elise, as I grab my camera. But we got to check this jet out, right?
This is cool.
Yeah, that's what we want to see. We want to see the inside of this private jet. We're very excited about it. They've been so gracious to bring it out for us. And George, once we get in here, if you don't mind, just show our viewers what you have going on.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, step inside. So the Challenger 300 series aircraft is categorized as a super mid aircraft. It is manufactured by Bombardier. As you can see, it's an 8-seat aircraft with two seating configurations for up to 8 passengers. It's capable of about 4,000 miles of range, so this aircraft can get you up the East Coast or across the country, or depending on conditions, even further. It is the most popular aircraft in this category, and really a go-to aircraft for the largest corporate and private and operated fleets in the world. And so that's what you have here. Obviously, a flat floor, a stand-up cabin, lots of room to move around. And a really spacious and quiet ride.
So this is directly to our viewers right now. Those people who might be thinking about making that switch, might have dreamed about flying in a private jet but have never done it. What would you say to them to sort of tip them over the edge to start investigating this as an option for them?
Sure. Well, look, obviously private aviation isn't accessible for everyone, but for those that it is, we've really tried to focus on the idea of sensible private aviation, meaning use us when the facts and circumstances warrant it. When you're traveling, if you're a company with a large group of executives trying to hit multiple stops, commercial aviation doesn't work, connections, trying to add that extra day to your precious vacation time with your family at your second home, hard to reach places, right? The commercial aviation industry flies to under 500 airports. We fly it up to 5,000 airports. So again, no need to necessarily be on our aircraft if Delta's got a flight going to the same place right in front of you or behind you, but for those times when you need it, it's a great option to have.
All right, Elise, I think you heard it. This could be a great option for people, especially as we head into this holiday season. People are making their travel plans and that sort of thing. And what a cool thing for Wheels Up to bring their jet out here for us and to give us this tour. Elise, I'll toss it back to you if you have any other questions for George.
No, this is amazing. And I got to tell you, Billy, it's been so cool. The outside's cool, but the inside, like, this is kind of where it all makes sense, right? This is what you expect when you think about flying private. It looks so luxurious. But I do have a question, if you don't mind, since you have a captive audience there with George Mattson. Ballpark this for us, because I mean, this has to be something that's at a premium, right? He's mentioning this is maybe for those first class passengers who are wanting to fly private. So, like, what are we talking about here if you wanted to get a seat on that flight?
Sure. So obviously, I know you have a few packages that you've recently announced. Give us a ballpark estimate of what you'd be looking at getting into a jet like this one.
So this aircraft, the retail price of this aircraft in the market is somewhere just north of $10,000 an hour, and so it sort of depends on flight time. Certain high-traveled routes are less, certain harder-to-reach places are a bit more, but that gives you a general idea. And of course, you have 8 seats. You start dividing it by the number of people and so forth. You can start to get to sort of a per person, per trip type of estimate.
But I think for some people that you offer an expediency, you offer that speed that could add add more time to their vacations and time with their loved ones and things like that I've heard you mention.
Yeah, ultimately, it's a great point, Billy. I mean, ultimately, this is a time machine, right? This enables you to save hours and in some cases shorten trips by days, a day, a night. You know, what's the value of your team's time, of your family time, and if you can really meaningfully add to that, right? If you can shave trip time by 50% because you're not going to a commercial airport, you're not connecting, and you're also turning this into an experience where the journey starts on the way there, not when you arrive, right? You can use this cabin space for productive business discussions, for valuable family time, as opposed to sitting in various places around the cabin, so to speak, on a commercial airplane. And so these are some of the things that people come to us for. Young children, pets. There's lots of reasons why people end up on private aircraft.
All right, thank you so much, Reggie. Appreciate your time.
My
and I'll
pleasure.
give one last look at the outside of this beautiful Challenger 300 that you've brought out here for us. And I'll send it back to you, Elise, as I step down the steps and give you another shot of that.
Yes,
jet.
please do. Gosh, you're doing such a great job with that camera too. You know, the looks outside, the looks inside. And I got to tell you, Billy, this is cool because I feel like you answered a lot of the questions that many of us have just wondered, like out of curiosity, right? Like, how does this whole private jet thing work?
Oh, yeah,
even if
right?
we won't be taking a trip. It's just interesting to know and really cool to get to see as well. So very, very cool. Billy
absolutely
Heath.
right.
Yeah, that is wow. That is certainly a wow. It deserves that. Billy Heath live for us today. Billy, thank you so much
exactly.
for that.
I agree. Wow.
We appreciate it, Billy. Thank you for that. All right, our time is 11:37 on this Monday morning. Let's take a live look outside now. I believe we're looking at North Georgia. And I got to tell you, our meteorologist Alex Forbes is joining us, and I feel like you could really take in the fall foliage from your private jet, right?
You could do that. That is an option. Catch me up cruising around North Georgia later this afternoon.
There we go.
Yeah. The other thing, actually, perfect segue. The other thing you can catch from your private jet is what's going on in Murray County. So the fall foliage looks nice, but when you get the really dry leaves, dry conditions, breezy conditions, you can develop a wildfire threat, which is what we have today. So here's an aerial shot for you. This is from the Murray County Fire and EMA. And you see this is in a wooded area, right? So likely not many structures in the area, but it's something that we're going to be watching here through the afternoon today. So if you can, I would avoid burning today. The combination of the dry vegetation, the low humidity, and the winds are going to make fires, whether they are intentionally or unintentionally set, be able to spread easily. All right, so you might think that you can control your fire. Well, everybody thinks that, and then there are some that become uncontrolled. So that's what we're watching here through the afternoon. 62 in Atlanta, 58 in Canton right now, 59 in Gainesville, 62 in Athens, 63 in Eatonton, and 64 in Thomaston. But look at the difference between those numbers and these numbers, the dew points. You've got a dew point of 14 right now in Canton, 20 in Gainesville, 21 in Atlanta. You're going, Alex, what in the world is a dew point? This is a fancy way of saying that it is very, very dry outside. So you might find yourself reaching for the chapstick. 67 today. And if you are looking for the 70s, boy, do I have some for you. 73 tomorrow, 78 on Wednesday, 77 on Thursday. All of that above average. Mind you, our average high temperature for this time of year is about 64. So we will sail past that here in the next little bit, getting into the mid to upper 60s this afternoon before we slip down into the 50s a little later on this evening. A little warmer down to the south. We'll say 70 in Eatonton, 70 in Thomaston, 68 in LaGrange, 66 in Rome, and 65 in Canton. Then another cool start for your Tuesday morning. We'll say 45 in the city of Atlanta. Here's your Fox 5 Storm Team 7-day forecast now. So above average, looking for some showers likely Friday and Saturday. And I think that's going to kick off, well, I wouldn't go as far to say a wet stretch of days, but several opportunities for rain between the end of the week and Thanksgiving, which is now just 10 days away.
Which is wild. That is so crazy. You know what got me today is when you put up that graphic. You might have shown it just now and I could have missed it, but it's the countdown clock on everything.
Yep.
Ooh.
Less than 50 days left in the year. So, Merry Christmas. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, like this is that downward slope.
This is it.
Yeah.
And we were talking about on Good Day this morning, it's not too late to figure out the Thanksgiving meal, right? You still have 10 days to do it.
Yeah.
And then you also have to figure out apparently if you're going to charge people.
Because that's a whole thing, right? And the asking the question is okay to charge people. And I want you to know I would not charge you if you came to my house for Thanksgiving. So you're in the clear.
I appreciate it. I was saying earlier, if we start charging people, you got to take the giving out of the name.
It's just thanks.
Thanks.
Right?
Yep.
That's all it is. Alex Forbes hanging with us today. Alex, thank you so much.
Yep.
We appreciate it. All right, still ahead for you on the show. We are headed to Georgia Tech to talk about an AI job fair, and it's companies like BlackRock, Geotab, Google, you name it. So we'll be there in just a few minutes. Stick around. Welcome back, everyone. All right, it feels like we're hearing about AI all the time. It's absolutely everywhere. And for Georgia Tech students who are interested in artificial intelligence, well, there's a job fair that's happening today, and some of the best companies will be there looking to hire. So that's certainly some good news. And we've got our Chris Rosenthal, who is joining us live with a look at how it's going. Good morning, Chris.
Yeah, good morning. As you can see behind me already, this career fair is busy. It's been going since about 9 o'clock, goes till about 1:30. There are a variety of companies. I'm going to flip my camera around. We'll walk around the crowd here. They got about 1,000 students or so, or about 1,000 people coming here looking for jobs and internships. Companies like Google, BlackRock. We also have some smaller companies. We have housing companies, lighting companies, supply chain companies. All these companies, incorporating AI, looking for students and people with AI experience. Again, about 1,000 or so people registered, and it is busy. I've been out here for about an hour or so, and even more and more, it's even more busier than before. They got about 28 companies here. But I'm joined by, I'm going to come over here. I got Tim Brown here. He is with Georgia Tech. Tim, tell me a little bit about, AI now. Now we're seeing this really creep into something that's really being required for these students going into the workforce, huh?
Yeah, I mean, AI, the future of us is really AI plus us, because it's in everything. It's in healthcare, it's education, supply chain, logistics, manufacturing. So students for today, face their careers for the future, really need to know about AI. Whether they're creating it or using it, it's just going to be part of our day-to-day lives and our day-to-day workplace.
There are about 28 employers here. What are they telling you about their needs, what they need in new employees going forward in the future?
Mm-hmm. It's different. There's a wide variety of companies here. Some are looking for people who are creating AI or using a toolkit of different AI approaches like machine learning learning or LLMs or computer vision to solve their unique industry challenges. Others, it's more business services. So it's really a mix of tools and techniques every company will use.
I think we hear a lot of talk about, AI might take our jobs, but I mean, looking around this room, it doesn't quite seem that way. It just seems like maybe people need to adapt. Is that fair to say?
Well, I like to say, this has all happened before, and it's all going to happen again. The internet came about, some jobs were lost, but probably 2.5 new jobs were created for every job lost, and the same thing will happen again here. So I think we'll be safe. It'll be a time of disruption, but things will work out.
And what's Georgia Tech doing to help prepare these students?
Probably the biggest thing we're doing at scale is our online masters in analytics, computer science, and cybersecurity, all of which have AI and machine learning tracks in them. So they've got probably 10,000, 12,000 students in there at a very affordable rate. So that makes it very easy for people to upskill and reskill. If you're already in the workplace and want to hop on the AI bandwagon, that's a way to do it.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I mean, for people that are watching at home that may not be Georgia Tech students, but they want a career, they want to keep their careers going. I mean, what would you recommend? How would they, to adapt to AI?
Yeah, and I just mentioned the 4-credit programs, the degree programs. Much easier than that actually is the non-credit programs, courses where it's open enrollment, where you can look on the Georgia Tech Professional Education website and sign up for a basic course in generative AI or ChatGPT for teachers and all. Those courses you can take for free without a certificate, or you can pay for a certification on top of that. So just go out there and play, poke around on the non-credit courses and see how you like it.
There's a lot of different industries. You and I were kind of talking about this earlier, that this is really, you guys don't have like an AI course, but you embed this within lots of different fields.
Yeah, I think we've got over 150 AI courses, but we don't have an AI department or an AI college because it's built in. AI for electrical engineering or healthcare or supply chain and logistics and all. So we've kind of grown AI organically and will continue to do so, where each department will tailor its AI offerings as needed.
Tim Brown with Georgia Tech, thanks for your time. And they're out here till about 1 o'clock or so. And it's interesting, I was talking with one of the smaller businesses here, and they said they're looking for these younger AI experienced students to even help out with the more senior employees who may not have as much AI experience. But again, this fair going on till about 1:30 today on Georgia Tech campus.
Yeah, Chris, I got to tell you, I'm impressed with the turnout at that. My goodness, a lot of students there taking advantage of the opportunity. So, Chris, thank you so much for giving us a look around. We appreciate it. All right, our time is 11:48 and still ahead for you on the show. We're talking about how spreading holiday cheer doesn't necessarily mean you have to spread germs around. So we're going to check in with the doctor next. Welcome back, everyone. All right, families are preparing to gather for the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays soon. But a new report is revealing some common hygiene gaps that could be putting your health at risk. So joining us to talk a little bit about this, we have Dr. Bayo Curry-Winchell with St. Mary's Urgent Care Group in Reno, and she's got some very important tips for us. So Dr. Bayo, thank you so much for being on. Good morning. Oh, okay. Keep talking to me to make sure we can hear you, Dr. Bayo.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, good.
Yes. So let's dive into this. I mean, this is so interesting. I feel like we check all the boxes when it comes to so many things for the holidays and for gatherings, but this isn't something that we talk about very often, and that is unintentionally spreading germs during the holiday gatherings. So what are some common ways that we do this, Dr. Bayo?
So exactly. We want to gather, but we also don't want to spread germs. And some of the ways that we do that is missing those high touch areas. I like to call them the high touch, but often forgotten areas. Those are your light switches, the cabinet door, the handles. All of those things are often touched frequently, but not cleaned as often as it should be.
Very, very interesting. And I got to say, I mean, that looking back on when I do tidy up and clean up, that's not happening every time. So that's a good reminder for those high touch areas to make sure that we're touching those. So this was pretty interesting. There's a recent study. It showed nearly half of people admit to unhygienic behaviors when they're sick. So share some examples and why this can be so concerning, Dr. Bayo.
That statistic is pretty alarming. And what it represents is a lot of times people are sick, and then what they do is they're still using the same bed sheets that they were having that illness in. The other thing is people will blow their nose with a tissue and continue to have that tissue in their pocket. So those are real ways where we're not practicing those hygienic practices that we should be, especially when we're sick and when we're trying not to spread those germs to other people.
Certainly so. Okay, so taking a closer look at this study and what it found 27% of people deep clean in the winter. It should be so much higher than that. You know, that's such a time when you need to be deep cleaning because of colds and flus and that kinds of things. So do you have maybe a quick checklist of things that we can do to start today?
Yes. So the biggest thing is the areas that we often clean that are most visible, those aren't going to be the areas that are going to be the dirtiest. So what you want to do is have a disinfectant, which is different than a cleaning product. So disinfectant will have an antibacterial, an antiviral component, and that's what's actually going to prevent the germs from actually causing an infection. So that's what you want to lean on. Look for that product that is a disinfectant versus just a natural, normal cleaning product.
Are we talking like our handy dandy Lysol that it's time to bust out for these kinds of things? That's what we need to be doing. Okay, so don't think all natural then when it comes to this, right?
That is correct. You really want to look at the label and see what is in that product, because people can put anything on a product, but you want to make sure whatever you're using in your household is actually going to help your household get clean.
Okay, so if someone does end up getting sick over the holidays, Dr. Bayo, what are the most important hygiene steps that they should take to protect others that are in the household and keep the whole household from getting sick too?
So I'm a big fan of making sure that you cough in your elbow. And when you cough in your elbow, you really want to make sure that it's close to your face. The other thing that you want to do is if you're not feeling well, avoid touching your mouth, your eyes, any of those things, because what can happen is you can spread those germs inadvertently to the next person. So those are two real tips. If you're not feeling well, not to do in hopes that you don't spread it to other family members.
Sure, that's helpful. Okay, I've got time to ask you one more thing, and I want you just to give us some final takeaways that you have. You know, we mentioned that this is a time we're trying to make sure we've got all the things to cook and that, we can entertain folks when they come over. But what's something that you can leave us with just to help us prepare to not spread germs?
So one thing that we do in my household as we have guests coming to our house is we have everybody wash their hands before we kind of dive into that meal. That's a real way to reduce spread because people are traveling. They're on a flight, and those germs, we don't want them in our household. So that's what I practice, and so I recommend that to everybody else.
Yeah, certainly some good advice for us this morning, some helpful tips as we prepare to welcome folks over for Thanksgiving and for the holidays in general. So Dr. Bayo Curry-Winchell, St. Mary's Urgent Care Group in Reno, thank you so much for checking in with us here in Atlanta, and happy early Thanksgiving to you, Dr. Bayo.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much for being with us today. And thank you for joining us on this Monday. We appreciate you streaming with us. Make sure you tune in for the noon show that's coming up in just a few minutes. Take care.
A man gets shot while he slept in his own apartment. We're getting new information from authorities as they work to find the shooter. Plus, a major change from the FAA with the official end of the flight reduction emergency order. We've got the latest on how this impacts travelers. Alex?
We've got clear skies all across north and central Georgia this afternoon. I'll show you how long that lasts and when rain chances are back in the picture.
Fox 5 News at noon starts right now.
We begin this hour with a news alert in downtown Atlanta. That's where police are searching for the gunman who shot 2 women. Good Monday afternoon. I'm Alex Whitler. Thank you for joining us. Authorities say that shooting happened overnight after the women chased down a man who was accused of attacking their father at a gas station. Fox 5's Kim Leffler joins us live with the very latest. Kim, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Well, we know medics rushed both of those women to Grady, and they are expected to be okay. Now, this all started at the BP gas station at the corner of the road here, but those shots were fired in the church parking lot behind me. Now, we know this happened late Sunday night. Police say the victim's father, who's a tow truck driver, tried to tow an SUV from the BP gas station at the corner of John Wesley Dobbs and Piedmont. Police say the car was parked in a tow-away zone, and the driver of that car entered a nearby restaurant. Investigators say the SUV driver got into a verbal fight with the tow truck driver. The tow truck driver's daughters both work security at the gas station and chased after him. They confronted the man in the church parking lot, which is about half a block from the gas station, and got into another fight. That's when police say the suspect shot both women. Now, this area is right by GSU student housing. Some students heard those gunshots ring out.
We saw blood on the ground. And just a lot of scattering, and then the police coming and blocking stuff off.
I didn't really know what to think. It was kind of like almost like a fight or flight response, and I was just like, I kind of just gotta get out of here.
Well, now the gunman took off before police arrived. They're now using surveillance video and information from the SUV that was getting towed to help find the shooter. So far, police have not released a description of the suspect. They're asking anyone with any information to give them a call. Live this afternoon in downtown Atlanta, Kim Leffler, Fox 5 News.
Okay, we're definitely going to keep that story top of mind. Kim, thank you. Also new from overnight, another shooting investigation. This one in DeKalb County. Officers responded to Boulder Crest Road around 1:15 this morning. Investigators found a man who said he was sleeping in his apartment when people started shooting at the building. Medics took him to the hospital in stable condition, and we spoke to someone who lives there who heard the gunshots.
Me and my cousin were actually upstairs. We were just getting done with our studies, and we went out on the porch and we heard a few gunshots. So we heard all of the gunshots, we seen the commotion, we saw a lot of people running and everything, and just people scattering, going everywhere, and we started hearing the sirens.
I didn't really know what to think. It was kind of like almost like a fight or flight response, and I was just like, I kind of just gotta get out of here.
DeKalb County police are still working to determine what led up to the shooting and who's responsible. A tragic update now on a shooting outside of Loganville CVS where a woman was shot in the head. We've since learned she's died. The scene unfolded Friday in the parking lot at the Atlanta Highway location near Conyers Road. Medics rushed the woman to the hospital via emergency helicopter. At the time, she was in critical condition, but Loganville police say 62-year-old Kimberly Whaley died yesterday afternoon. Police in nearby Lawrenceville took a person of interest into custody shortly after that shooting. We'll keep you posted on any arrests or charges. Well, a man is in custody after the GBI says he fought with a Newman officer, ending with a second officer shooting the man. According to the GBI, 29-year-old Sonny Canto was on a semi-truck steps yelling at the driver inside. An officer approached him and he started to fight that officer. At some point, Canto called for his dog to attack the officer and even reached for the weapon. That's when a second officer saw the struggle and shot the suspect in the arm.
We were setting up this morning about 9 o'clock, and I was on this side of the truck when I heard two shots. I looked through the truck and I saw a man running with the police and the dog chasing him, and they knocked him down in the parking lot, put handcuffs on him.
Canto, who was booked into the Coweta County Jail, faces charges for obstruction and attempted removal of a firearm from a public officer. The officer was also treated at a local hospital, but is expected to be okay. New this hour, police are investigating a shooting that left a man hurt in a South Fulton neighborhood. That shooting happened on hills near Bethesda Road, or Bethsaida Road, excuse me. Investigators found a man lying in the roadway, shot multiple times. Medics took him to the hospital with what police call non-life-threatening injuries. Detectives are interviewing witnesses and collecting evidence as they work to determine what led up to that shooting. In Cobb County now, a driver is wanted for a hit and run. This crash happened on South Cobb Drive at Waldrop Circle. This was Saturday night. Investigators say a Hispanic man was crossing the street outside of a marked crosswalk when he was hit. Medics took the victim to Wellstar Kennestone Hospital with some pretty serious injuries. Investigators believe the suspect's car, which was a newer model Chevy Silverado, has front end damage, especially to the grill area, so be on the lookout. Well, just weeks before Thanksgiving, a weekend fire displaces nearly 20 people living at a Roswell apartment complex. Firefighters worked into the early hours yesterday morning to contain the flames that left homes damaged and one firefighter hurt. The displaced families are relying on the Red Cross for temporary housing and recovery help.
We are saying why that happened just at that special moment. You know, Thanksgiving is coming, so now we don't know where we're going to live.
The cause is still under investigation as the Red Cross helps the people displaced get back into some sort of home for the holidays. Well, weather-wise, it is not bad out there. This is a nice live shot from one of our Fox 5 net cams. Let's check in now with Fox 5 Storm Team meteorologist Alex Forbes. It's my understanding that even though this is a little bit colder, it's to be expected.
And it's still above average, right? We've been so far above average that this cool down still doesn't even return us to that mark. And if you're looking for the warmer stuff, boy, do I have some for you here over the next several days. It's not here to stay, but it is going to make itself known across north and central Georgia. I want to start with this up in Murray County. We've got a wildfire underway, and this was sent to us from the Murray County